We are now going to have with us Mr. Jean-Louis Perrier, Program Director for the Africa Cybersecurity Resource Center, to share with us a few thoughts about building bridges, not walls, a new perspective for strengthening cyber resilience of the African financial sector. Mr. Jean-Louis, please come up. I believe you'll all agree with me that the whole area of cybersecurity, as we talk about digitalization and going green and green finance, is a key area and a key point to get right. So, Mr. Jean-Louis, very glad to have you with us, and over to you.
Thank you, James. Good afternoon to all of you, and thank you for attending this session. I would also like to thank the TDB and EIB for inviting me to talk about cybersecurity today. I know it is Friday afternoon. It is sunny outside. Many of you are preparing for annual leave. So I'm sorry to talk about this arid matter. I will try to be as understandable as possible. You know that many cybersecurity experts are reputed only to be able to talk between them. So I think with this management audience we have here, we will try to keep the things as simple as possible. Before we start, let me recall just some recent events on cybersecurity, just for the last few weeks, that have hit both public and private entities. We have had the Senegalese telecom and post regulation authorities that has been hit quite severely just a month ago. We have had the ASECNA. ASECNA is the Aviation Security Agency for 17 African countries. If you go to the ASECNA site now, you will see that their website is shown by Google not to be reliable. We have had a central bank in West Africa that has called for help in emergency after a quite severe ransomware attack. We have had a large bank in West Africa Monetary Union that has lost $6 million. It's not a small amount. We have had also a couple of customers calling me saying, okay, we have many stolen credit card data that are available on the dark web that are from West African banks. What should we do? I told them, do you know what are these banks? Do you have any details? And it was word of mouth, and nobody had any details. So, of course, it was not possible to offer any assistance to try to understand what had happened. And I was also recently participating to a boot camp with 15 very promising fintech startups. It was held in Luxembourg, and we were welcoming these startups from all over Africa. And obviously, the level of cybersecurity maturity was very low. All these fintech were very obsessed by end-user experience, by bringing value to their end customer, to the farmers, to the women, to the young people throughout the continent. And, of course, cybersecurity was not the primary concern. So we see that cybersecurity, of course, is a target for all sector, but financial sector is on the top list of the hackers for obvious reasons. What we have seen also is that very widely the crisis management is not very good. The communication from the entities that has been hit is generally under the required level. That is to say that they say nothing. So the local papers will amplify, deform, modify anything. So at the end, it is really a mess in terms of communication. And of course, the technical side is not well managed very often. So I'm sorry for this promising introduction. So we have seen that the financial sector, of course, in Africa, like everywhere in the world, is a key target. The financial motivation for hackers is in 86% the motivation. And also, we are facing organized crime, internationally organized criminal networks for more than half of the cases, which is a lot. We have the African financial sector is something that is very large. Actually, I am not aware of a good calculation computing of the number of institutions, but I have estimated something like 3,000 or 4,000 banks, microfinance, fintech, telcos, 42 central banks. So the landscape is quite complicated. 200, 300 million end customers. And now we are seeing that the central banks and the chief risk officer in the financial sector are seeing, and it is a good news, cyber risk as one of the top 2 or 3 risks for their institution. And it is obviously one of the more critical operational risks, because contrarily to pandemics, to credit crisis, to other crises, financial crisis you are accustomed to manage as financiers, cybersecurity crisis can kill your institution in just a matter of hours. So it is very difficult also to anticipate, of course. Also, we have, at the continental level, very limited resources, human and financial resources. It is estimated that there are about 10,000 cybersecurity experts throughout the continent. Some estimates say that there should be 300,000. Just for memory, there are 700,000 staff, cybersecurity staff in the US alone, plus 300,000 open positions. So there is a wide brain drain for more advanced countries. The second difficulty is in the financing cybersecurity efforts. The whole spending of Africa in cybersecurity, all sectors, is about $1.5 to $2 billion a year. And this is the total spending of the 4 largest US banks. So we can see some difference. A big difference from Europe or the US is that the public sector is not bringing a lot of support to the private sector in general and the financial sector in particular. There are only 15 or 20 countries that have a national cybersecurity strategy. Only 15 or 20 that are not exactly the same have a national incident response center. Only 15 or 20 have signed international agreements like Malabo Convention or Budapest Convention on cybercrime. So we cannot say that the answer of the public sector is really at the level of what it should be. And the last point I wanted to mention is that also coordination at the continental level between these entities is almost non-existent. And there are also very few data on what is the level of cybersecurity on the continent. You have many figures in the US, in Europe, and so on. But strangely, when you see the reports, you have data from the US, goes to Europe, and then it goes to Asia, and they just forgot that there is 1.4, 1.5 billion people living and working in the middle. So this is why we have to understand. So we are facing exactly, as the financial sector, exactly the same threats. We have less resources on the continent. So we have to find smarter ways of managing this situation and developing cyber resilience. As I have explained in my preliminary words, even big institutions that have bought all available technology like ASECNA or the big bank I was mentioning, that have gone through all the certifications, that have all the norms PCI DSS for credit card, ISO 27 for information sharing norm. They are it like a smaller institution. So these investments in technology and norms obviously is not enough. We have to accept that any institution can be damaged, so as to prepare for recovery, for taking the threat out of the company and rebooting the company. We have some very good report by the IMF 2 years ago, cyber risk and financial stability, that was mentioning that on top of the usual cyber hygiene dimensions that you know well, all the password management, infrastructure management, and so on, there are a number of big gaps that should be filled. And these gaps are response and recovery, information sharing, capacity development. We have understood a few minutes ago why. And also consistency of regulation and supervision. It is a fact that in many jurisdictions in Africa, the regulation may not be properly adapted to the level of threats and also to the capabilities of the financial sector. There are other components. ACRC is not involved in this component, like integrating cyber risk in financial stability analysis, for example. This is the job of the IMF and of the central banks. So we are overall facing the urgency to develop financial inclusion. We have stronger regulation in cybersecurity. We have new risks that are associated with the development of digital financial services, with the heavy digitization of the economy, as we have seen in the previous years. We see a rising number of severe incidents. In severe, I mean something like $1 million each time. So rising frequency and rising also level. And in some cases, we could meet or we could be in a position that financial stability and also socioeconomic stability could be put at risk. Imagine a large telecom and financial player, as you may have here in Kenya. I will not mention it. Imagine his operation would be stopped for 1 month or 2 weeks. What would be the consequences on the population, people not being able to have international remittances, to send money to the village, to pay for healthcare, to get their pension? It would be a nightmare for the population and the government and the authorities. And we have met a number of central banks. The IMF also is sharing this concern. So the level of concern is rising. So we really, as a financial sector, have to take the leverage to move on. So who are we? We are a project and a team that is aiming to build the first Africa-wide cybersecurity organization. It is a not-for-profit consortium. It's a public-private partnership also, which is a bit unusual, and it gathers in total about 500 experts, basically from all sides, all dimensions of cyber security. And we have received a first funding, significant funding, from the African Development Bank through the Africa Digital Financial Inclusion Facility, ADFI, which is funded by the African Development Bank itself, but also the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Agence Française de Développement, AFD, the French Ministry of Finance, Luxembourg, and the Women Economic Financial, can't remember the last name. They are a recent ad on the roundtable. So the partners are one of the Luxembourg government cybersecurity agency, the University of Luxembourg. They have a very big cybersecurity research center. They work with Google to improve the security of Android devices, for example. They work with PayPal, with BNP Paribas, and many others. Excellium Services, which is the largest cybersecurity private company in Luxembourg, and Suricate Solutions, a company that has been supported by the government of Luxembourg since 2015 to start to work on cybersecurity for the financial sector and financial inclusion. I was a co-founder of this company, Suricate Solutions, and after meeting hundreds of financial institutions, fintech, microfinance throughout the continent, meeting central banks and so on, we have identified some fields, some dimensions that we should propose a roadmap for the sector, and this is why we have created Africa Cybersecurity Resource Center for Financial Inclusion. So our objectives and approach, obviously, it is to support the secure development of financial inclusion and protect both institutions and the consumers, the end users. And the approach is quite innovative. First, it is a sectoral approach. ACRC is dedicated for the financial sector. It is a regional approach for many reasons. If you go through a country-by-country approach, first, it takes a long time. Second, it is very expensive because in each country, you may not have enough funding to have sustainable operation because the financial market is just too small in this country, which is maybe 50 countries out of 54 on the continent. So for the sake of sustainability, this is why we have created this regional approach, but with sub-regional entities for French-speaking West Africa, East Africa, on which we are working. In the future, English-speaking West Africa, it could be also Central Africa, and so on. It is inclusive because it is designed to address the needs from the Tier 3 microfinance in the delta of Niger to central banks, and in between all the telcos, the banks, different microfinance, microinsurance, fintech, and so on. It is independent. The political situation in Africa may, from time to time, be difficult, as it is in Europe currently or in other continents. So the idea is that the financial sector should not be blocked in going to a better cybersecurity by political discussion. So the idea is that this initiative is focused on the financial sector and not related to the local authorities. Nevertheless, we have to collaborate with these local or regional or sub-regional entities, like it could be a national emergency response team, central banks, it can be national cybersecurity agencies, but we have to find ways to make sure that this will not be an impediment to the development of work, of collaboration within the financial sector itself. So collaborative. Quality, we come from Luxembourg. In Luxembourg, we have something like 150 banks, 150 insurance companies. We have the EIB. The level of requirements in terms of cybersecurity is very high. So the idea is to take the international best practices as we experiment them in Europe or in the US and adapt them to bring them on the continent, adapt them to notably the available resources. And then the last point is the human capital development, which is absolutely critical. How to go from these 10,000 guys throughout Africa to the 300,000 that needs to create a Master of Science throughout the continent. There may be only 15 or 20. Nobody knows, actually. There should be 2 or 3 in each country. We have to create PhDs that will be teachers in this Master of Science, that will be researchers in cybersecurity startup. We see a lot of fintech startups that have a huge success throughout Africa, but we are yet to see big success in cybersecurity startups throughout the continent. Intelligence is there. Probably some components in the ecosystem are still missing to make that very successful company can rise for the benefit of employment and development of the continent. And I would not like to forget that there is also in ACRC initiatives to fill gender gap bridge, which is big in cybersecurity, like in ICT in general. And women often have a bit different approach of risk, including in cyber risk management, and it is important to have very inclusive population to work on these matters. So we have centered our approach on a number of components. The core component as the 5 on the right, as you can see, hopefully you can see them. The Earth is developing a trusted information and best practices sharing community. This is really the Earth of everything. We are facing organized crime, as you remember. They do communicate. They have a very well-structured, value-added chains. You have guys that develop the malware, guys that are using the malware, guys that are mules that will take money from the financial circuits at the agents or in the branches. It is really extremely well organized. You have some software, hacking software developer, for example, that offer 24/7 support, which is not very often in the real life. These guys, they have also a refund policy. You are not happy the way the hacking tool has been effective. Well, they will refund you the money and send you a couple of decimals of bitcoins, everything you have paid. So they have a business. It is a business, so we must organize ourselves as a intelligent business to face these guys. We have, this is dedicated for central banks, a strategic and regulatory advisory services to support them in designing smart cybersecurity regulations and also supporting them on improving their resilience of their own infrastructure. We have education, I talked of this, R&D and innovation, and capacity building and awareness. This is very, very important, as the IMF has noted. And it is true not only for financial sector players, but also for the central banks. We have met a number of central banks that tell us, well, we would like to be better in cybersecurity, but we just cannot hire the people, or we hire them and the next month they leave for abroad, or they go to the telco that will pay 3 times the salary, or they are hired by large tech companies that come to the continent and pay big salaries. So even for them, it is very difficult. So this is the public good core services, as we call them, and they are really designed to work in partnerships, in collaboration, to synergize all the existing initiatives. And there are many, but you have some initiatives on the continent that target one country or 2 or 3 countries, others that target only capacity building, for example. We need to have a broader picture, and we need to coordinate for the development of the financial sector. We need to coordinate better all these activities. So when initiatives exist, we can rely on them. Maybe leverage them instead of developing a methodology, developing tools, content for one country. Once we have this content, why not deliver it broadly to the 4,000 financial institutions I mentioned before, and so on. And for the more commercial services, like the incident response team, or CSIRT in our vocabulary, security operation centers, which are really necessary to supervise your system, and when there is an intrusion, make sure that you can detect it and eradicate it as soon as possible. This is based on a number of reference commercial partners, but everything has to be tightly integrated, because you can detect only something that you know. So you have to make models of the type of attacks, and there are 1,000 type of attacks. So this has to be modelized, and then this information has to be shared with the incident response team, has to be shared with the security operation center, so that they are able to detect the new threats. And in the reverse, a security operation center can find something that is new and will bring this on top to the information sharing community that at its turn will disseminate the information throughout the financial sector. And it is also very important. All of this is quite recent, and we are building the information sharing community for Africa. But we could also, and we want, and we will, get the connection to the international cybersecurity community. It is very important that if an institution in Singapore or in London or in New York is facing a new target, that they inject this in this threat intelligence network, and that it is made available to the African financial sector, and vice versa. Maybe next year, the new hacking tool, the new technique for the hackers will be developed in Kenya or Nigeria or Zambia, whatever. And it is important for the global financial community also to be able to get this information. So it is really a win-win cooperation we can have. Very quickly, in our roadmap, we have developed, this will may interest a number of you, a roadmap for smaller institutions, microfinance and fintech institutions. They have a very low maturity, very generally, and the idea is we have developed a framework that is standard but can be adapted with a number of components, and that can be delivered in the time, because these guys, maturity is not just a question of 1 week training and your life will change. It can contribute, but unfortunately it is not enough. So the idea is to accompany these institutions in 2 or 3 years to at least reach the basic level of cybersecurity maturity. So we have tools, that some are already available. It could be also very useful that technical assistant funding is gathered by the donors, because many of these fintech or microfinance institutions or microinsurance institutions, for example, they just don't have the basic money to do anything. So it is important, even if we are delivering affordable services, even affordable can be not affordable for the smaller or the more fragile of them. Let's come back to the trusted information sharing community. Obviously, I will not go through all the details, but we have many types of partners, of stakeholders that are involved. We have all the sector policymakers, central banks, supervisors, national switches, for example, or regional financial switches, like you have in West Africa Monetary Union. They have a sub-regional switch for the 8 countries of the Monetary Union. We have national, sub-regional, or international authorities, notably in law enforcement, Interpol, the National CERT, the Cybersecurity Agency, and so on. but it could be also the IMF, the World Bank, or other international partners, the Africa Union, the East African Community, and so on. Partners like academia, professional associations, who are really a very strong leverage in our approach to reach these 4,000 financial institutions. And so I was 2 days ago with the Kenya Bankers Association, and we had a very interesting discussion with them. They understand that information sharing is critical. The thing is how to do it properly, because as we all know, sharing information in the financial sector, and particularly in Africa, it is not in the culture, it is not in the habit. The thing is to understand that there are some procedures, some tools, some legal components also that allow it to make it secure and trusted. So it has been done in the US, in Europe, so there are no reason I can see that it could not work in Africa. The financial sector here or there works quite similarly, and all the institutions and national or financial institutions will understand very well where their interest lies. And then on the right, we have this core, what we have called the core trust circle, with only financial institutions. So we have developed, I will not go in too much detail. Also, we have developed a whole process, a whole framework to introduce this information sharing, to create this information sharing community, making sure that we ensure trusted sharing, making sure that we deliver value-added information, which is very important in emerging markets. You cannot manage too much technical information. We have to go straight to the point just because we have less resources. And we have to work also to develop capacity in the long term, not in just a click. This is based on the development of local chapters that will be the counterpart of ACRC, and will be promoting the information sharing locally. So hopefully the KBA and the Kenyan and East Africa financial sector will be interested to jump in this initiative. So very quickly, we have made a number of awareness sessions, more than 40 in the last 2 years, with more than 2,500 participants. We have launched the first African Finance Cybersecurity Conference. We have just run the second in Senegal a few weeks ago. The first one was in Rwanda. We have also worked with IMF to prepare a research project on central bank digital currencies cybersecurity. Many central banks see many opportunities for the development of financial inclusion, reducing the cost of transaction and so on. But most often, cybersecurity is just a sentence at the end of the impact document. Well, we should care about cybersecurity, but nobody is doing it. So with the IMF, we have built a methodology for this research project. We are just still waiting for fund this initiative. So if someone has some good ideas here, we are looking for $200,000. And we have a new concept also we have developed. It is not a project, it is more an idea now, is creating a training center for all African regulators and supervisors, financial regulators, insurance, data privacy, and so on, who have, for 80 or 90% of their concerns in cybersecurity, exactly the same needs. And it would be a very good thing to allow them to share in practice their information and disseminate what can be done by the IMF, by the World Bank, by many other partners. So I hope my presentation was of interest for you. And I hope we can develop something interesting with the Kenya Bankers Association and the local community here in Kenya, But as I told to the KBA, they already have started to think about this, but it is important that we think at least at the sub-regional level, because if we bring to other countries an initiative that is branded Kenya, of course, it will be difficult. This is one of the interests of having an independent structure like ACRC to manage all these aspects. Thank you.